Hi you guys, Runaway Goldfish here, and I brought Kino along. He's kind of hanging out in my shirt right now, so he might pop in and say hi. But for those who know, I'm Runaway Goldfish, and I'm another artist on the internet from the Pacific Northwest, and I like to draw aquatic things. And in today's video, I'll be sharing my biggest art project yet, and that's bringing back to life a 1983 Chevy G20 Chinook. Now, what I'll be talking about is the process of the van build, which includes drawing out the plans, buying the vehicle, emptying it out, getting it cleaned and prepared, framing, insulation, taking it out on its first trip, talking about things that went wrong, things that went right, and the possible future. I have some notes here on the side, so if you see me like looking to the side, that's the reason why. So that way, as I'm talking to you guys about the van, I can kind of, I can keep track of what I'm talking about here and the things that I want to share. So I spent a lot of time from Craigslist to Facebook Marketplace to shady used car lots. And I really used the opportunity to find as many varieties of vans available to help me really find out what would work best for my needs. I eventually landed on what I would consider a tried and true Chinook. Now, the thing about Chinooks is that back in the day, they were considered the sports cars of RVs for their sleek, lighter, and more aerodynamic design. And they even took a bunch of different types of vehicles and did conversions, which is what I currently own. And unfortunately, it was a company that was way ahead of its time and eventually went under. This was a time when most folks essentially wanted a house on wheels. At the time, they really wanted to take big families on big road trips. So this was unfortunately right before the resurgence of van life. Back around 2015-ish, I actually used to own one of the Chinook original designs, I guess. And with the help of my partner at the time, we gutted it and rebuilt everything from scratch, like how I am currently doing, or like how I currently did with this vehicle. And without getting into too much detail, I had lost it and all the money that went with it due to a relationship that ended horribly, as they do sometimes. But I didn't want that experience to stop me from getting back what I lost. So, I also wanted to prove myself of my own capabilities. And on top of that, when it comes to conventions and local markets, and for those who don't know, that's something that I do. I make art and I go to pop-up markets and conventions and I sell my art. And one of the biggest expenses has always been lodging. And it has been really empowering having everything I need with me. Now, the guy that I bought it from was nice, but felt a little shady. When I first saw the van, it was so full of garbage and mold. But for some reason, I couldn't look past its potential, especially in today's van market. So I negotiated it down to $2,500, which looking back, I felt like I could have done a little bit better, but I don't know, it was kind of a weird time, like I said. And I drove the rickety thing down the back roads home. Good morning, everybody. Today is day one. Wow, this is a really nice camera. You can see everything. Anyways, today is day one of van building. There you go. Kino wanted to say hi. Want to say hi? Today's day one of van build. I don't know how much we're going to get done, but we're definitely ripping out most of the things. So, wish me luck. Hi, you guys. This is Runaway Goldfish here, and we're here for another van build. As you can see, it's a big difference compared to, I guess, the last time recorded. It's actually been probably a year since I recorded, maybe a little less than a year, since the last time I recorded us doing some van life or van build progress. Since then, we've finished stripping everything, like the appliances, the ceiling, the floor, and I guess I can kind of give you a little tour here. So this is what it's looking like so far. So we've taken all of that out, and the reason why the floor is white is because we've been doing some grinding and sanding and getting rid of all of that rust. The rust spots were, some of them were worse than others, but I also just wanted to spray paint them before they got worse. So I'm kind of gross right now because I've been under the car because this whole situation was terrible. This was the worst. Figuring out the wiring, there was a lot of MacGyvering that was happening, but we figured out what was going where. So yes, we did it. We did it. So right now, as you can see here, this is probably the worst of the rest. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a grinder, just make a clean cut around this, and actually I'm gonna utilize this hole for possibly ventilation, for like propane storage, or battery storage. I'm not quite sure yet, or maybe putting something there where we need, well, just utilizing the pass-through essentially. Yeah, that's where we're at. So I guess stay tuned for more. Hey guys, okay, so it is, I don't even know what day of the build this is, but right now we are, well, last time we checked in, we were working on the floor. We were cutting a bunch of pieces to frame out the floor for insulation, and we were cutting holes into the floor and cutting out a lot of the rest. So it sucks because it's been raining the past couple days. Don't know what the inside of the van looks like, but I did put covering, so it should be okay. But now we should be gluing in some of the framing. It looks like it's gonna be nice-ish. I don't know, we'll see. But that's the goal for today, is putting in the wood frame for the floor. So let's get into it. Woo! Hello, hi guys. Okay, so I honestly don't even know what day it is. I just know it's Sunday. But today, I think last time we checked in, you saw that we were cutting up this hole, this hole, and then I think I reported the fact that we were cutting up these pieces of wood for the frame. Just letting you know, I basically screwed everything down. I used both liquid nails, and I'm doing horizontal framing first, and then I'm going to be doing some vertical beams. Part of the reason why I'm doing horizontal is, one, safety, and one of the things that people don't really talk about that I've seen in videos is like the possibility of accidents. And when you have horizontal lines going across like this, it adds more structural integrity to the van, which is why I'm doing that. So the plan is I'm going to be doing horizontal lines here, and then I'm going to be adding beams across around the top here too, for a combination of reasons. Storage, and up here where I'm standing, I'm thinking about having maybe like a little reading nook or something, maybe additional storage. I'm not quite sure, because if I do storage, it would have to be like long storage. Like, here, let's switch my camera. As you can see here, I would have to have like really long pull-out drawers or something. I'm not exactly sure, but there is a lot of headroom. I also don't know how much headroom there's going to be as soon as I start adding the floor and as soon as I start adding insulation to the ceiling. So today I'm going to finish up the job here. As you can see, there's like this last screw. That screw is like that because the drill died from this morning. I had been working since I think like 11 a.m. today, which is, okay, don't come at me, okay, because it's Sunday and a long day yesterday, so I'm sleeping in. Okay, well, I'm gonna finish up getting this beam done, and hopefully I can get these vertical beams in too. I'm almost considering like adding more vertical beams here, or maybe even doing strictly vertical beams. Something I'm definitely considering, although I've already cut all the pieces, so I don't know, we'll see. Okay, well, let's get to work. So after that, when it comes to drawing out plans, I had been doing mock-ups for years, and I've been doing mock-ups for all kinds of vehicles. And the reality is that no matter how many times you draw things out, it will never be exactly how you planned. The first step, clean and empty out the whole chassis. And even though it was a real headache to do, the best part about taking things apart is learning how to put it together. And this helped inform me how I was going to do my own build and ways I can make it better than it was before. My goal was to make it lighter, more efficient, and to bring it into the 20th century with my own artistic flair. Another fun fact is that when I finally had the title on hand, I acquired it on a full moon. This would later inspire the name and design. And emptying it out took a few weekends over the course of 2 to 3 months, which meant multiple trips to the dump. There was a lot in there. After she was emptied out, it was about cleaning as much as possible. So finding all the rusty spots, sanding, grinding, and then finally spray painting everything so that everything's all sealed. And then came the framing and installation. All right, so right now, part of the reason why we're going on this trail is because we're looking for a geocache. I've never gone geocaching before. Fiona's trying to find the location of said geocache, and it's taking us down some treacherous trails with beautiful views. There you go.
On the right side.
Okay. Yeah. You think it should be around here? Thank you so much, Doreen. I hope you're doing well. You have some people who care about you. Have a good one, Doreen. What a beautiful spot by the river. Oh, I hear falls. Oh, wow. That is gorgeous.
I think the geocache is on the other side.
SMH. Rest in peace. Apparently stumbled upon a forest graveyard today.
Oh, yeah.
It's actually kind of beautiful.
Yeah.
What a beautiful place to to have your spirit rest, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Want to say hi, Fiona?
Hi. What's up?
What's up, everyone? Last time you saw me, I was building the van, and it was half empty. And what's probably going to end up happening is I'm going to give you a little van tour of where it's at so far. Oh wow, look at this view. Hold on, I'm going to turn you guys around. That's gorgeous. Last time we saw each other, I was building the van, and right now I'm with my friends, Fiona, and Fiona right there. We're doing a little hike and stumbled upon a little graveyard, which is really interesting. Anyways, this is my first night camping in the van, so that's how you know that we got some shit done in the van. I didn't record any of it because I just feel like I was getting into the creative flow, and I feel like the camera, like setting up the camera, putting it down, making sure the camera angle was good, it just was really, it was really distracting from the process. But yeah, so I'm gonna continue doing the hike. You'll see more soon. So as spectators on the internet, all of this probably seems pretty sudden and random, but there were many factors that led to this decision. The first one being passion. I love the outdoors. I love the process of making and learning new skills. I love a challenge, and I love the idea of bringing something old and bringing it to the 20th century and building something new in a way that honors the environment and that honors myself. And the second is the ability to have access to travel in a way I didn't have before, which has allowed me to have all kinds of opportunities, especially when it came to my art and business. And when it comes to going to conventions, markets, and shows, the most expensive part for me, outside of purchasing product, like I've said before, is lodging. This often leads to creative solutions on how to make it work, whether it's room sharing at hotels or waking up at the crack of dawn. I'm not a big fan of either of those solutions. And as an outdoorsy person, it has been just nice to have when I want to travel just in general. So now I want to talk about how I completed this project leading up to its first trip and then go over some of the good, bad, and the ugly. So, like I said, we're going to start with step 1, and that is drawing out the plans. And that's, for many years, after losing my first vehicle, I was drawing dream builds in my journals just over and over again, like just kind of, fantasizing about that in the same way, like fantasizing your dream room, going through Pinterest, and I would intensively research on the vehicles that were available, their dimensions, what the market was really looking like for vans at the time, and what could be realistic within my budget one day. Because you got to understand, like, there are vans nowadays that are literally as much as houses now. So, and like, since COVID, van lifing had become very trendy. So it had gone from a really affordable lifestyle to, for some people, like, being really, like, seriously priced out for certain things. And for a long time, I would also watch other van lifers and study their lifestyles and gigs and create Pinterest boards of aesthetics and nifty space saving hacks. But unfortunately, just like most things, I could do this all day, but it wouldn't matter because no matter how much I draw it out, the practice of building it will always be different. So now we're moving on to step 2, and that is buying the vehicle. Now, I had already gone over my experience earlier, but I wanted to use this segment to go over some things to consider in case there's, someone out there who wants to do something similar. When looking for a vehicle, honestly, I really think it starts with aesthetics and vibe and just a vehicle that you really click with and you really vibe with, just one that you really love. And I know that sounds really silly, but hold on, hear me out. I say this because vans are very much a labor of love and are a huge investment on all fronts. It's emotionally taxing. It costs money. If something doesn't go your way, it can really take a toll on your mental health. And it's important that you're going through all of this with a vehicle that you truly love. There's a reason why I tell people that my van is my girlfriend. With that said, most folks may not even to buy a new vehicle. When I first explored the idea, I started making a weekend build in the back of my 92 Ford Ranger. I like my old cars, you guys. And it was my daily driver at the time. And when you've done your research and found a vehicle that you absolutely love, at this point, you've likely done the mock-ups of what you'd like, seen other people live in the same vehicle, and hopefully gone through the spiritual journey of deciding whether or not traveling minimally is something that you're able to do. But, I do want to make a point to say that it beats tent camping for me. It removes a lot of the, mental load. So after going through all of that, it is now time to scour the internet and be prepared to take all that emotional energy you've built up and prepare yourself to possibly change your mind about everything. The market for vans is all over the place and fluctuating. And Kino wants to say hi for this part. With a market like this, it also rewards impulsive decisions and forces you to deal with the consequences, which sometimes is kind of what you need. And I had looked at all kinds of vans with, all kinds of people. And if you go and do a drive test, please bring a friend. Okay. And if possible, someone who knows about cars. If you don't have someone available, here's a checklist to look for. Look at any signs of damage in the engine bay. And I mean anything. Like, even, I know, like, it looks overwhelming when you look inside. It just looks like a bunch of, like, tubes and clunky parts. But, if anything looks like it's fraying, if there's, like, weak plastic, rust, take note of all those things. And if you can, look for that in the underside as well. Like, get under the vehicle and write them down. Take pictures, whether it's like on an app or in a notebook. And, also be sure to sit in both chairs and open and close all doors, press every knob and button, and then finally be sure to do the test drive if you feel like it's safe enough. I know that there's also a bunch of books and online resources that help with first-time car buyers, especially for like femme people. If you, actually, you know what? I'm going to leave some links down below to some resources that I used. But the one thing that I noticed though is that I feel like a lot of those people were talking about cars for like as like a lifetime investment, and I just feel like with vans you have to look at the vehicle differently sometimes, depending upon what you're doing. Like if you are doing this for the purpose of reselling, that's different. But if you are doing this to, like, if you're doing a project to a car just because you really love it, and like, I know not everybody has that attachment. Some people do though. Some people are really nostalgic for certain vehicles, or like they really like the aesthetic of a certain vehicle, I would say my little checklist works out pretty great. And if there's anything else, if there's anything else that any of you guys want to add, feel free to leave it in the comments down below. I'm actually curious to see, what your guys' thoughts are. And so step 3 for me was emptying out the van. And this whole process was very intimidating, I gotta say. This required taking moldy, musty wood apart one piece at a time, tearing it out all the shag carpeting, which was everywhere, including the bathroom. I don't know why at the time they thought that was appropriate. But yeah, we ended up taking a grinder to a steel pull-out couch that was welded to the frame. And this process had to have been the hardest part and took the longest. During this phase, I felt a lot of doubt because the more I uncovered, the more flaws I began to unveil, and the more I began to wonder if I had made the biggest mistake. So remember how I was talking about having this journey with a vehicle you love? But also every time I got over an obstacle, the more I was able to envision the build, the more accomplished I felt, and the more excited I got to basically exercise my creativity. So I think one thing I wish I had done was be more diligent about checking for things like rust spots. And I'm hoping one day I can maybe learn a little bit of welding. Who knows? But after all of that, it was getting it cleaned and prepared. So aside from the rust spots and the one gaping hole, the van was actually in very good condition. I thought it was going to be a lot worse, like honestly. And at this point, it was a feeling of relief when you just have everything completely out. And now all I had to do was sand and buff anything that was unsightly. When I was doing the framing was pretty easy. Although most of the wood for the project was sourced, this is where I thought it would be important to use new wood. So basically, most of the van in general is made from reclaimed wood. So yeah. And at this point, I was on a high because I actually got to materialize my design. But it was a little scary because that meant drilling directly into the frame in some places. And luckily, I was able to use the holes that were already pre-drilled. At least I was able to use most of them. So for insulation, unfortunately, the insulation I bought was slightly too thick, and any other insulation would have been too thin. And since I had tons of spray foam from past projects, I thought it would have been a good idea to use that. This turned out to be a fantastic idea. And even though it didn't use the foam, I know I would use it for something else eventually. I am a crafter after all, so, whether it was for the van or for a different project. And now we are taking it on its first trip. Now, if I wanted to eventually take the van on these big trips, it is essential to take it on a test run. And I thought that things couldn't be too bad, considering I had taken it to a shop prior to the trip. And I think part of doing these sort of things is really having faith and just making the jump, which I know for a lot of people is very difficult and very scary. I also was feeling nervous, very nervous for my first big expedition in the van. But luckily I was going to be among friends for this trip. And you know what? Sometimes you just really gotta plug your nose and jump in, you know? And obviously you don't want to, if you feel like in your gut something isn't safe, follow that feeling. Do things until you feel safe. That's the most important part. Now, things that went wrong. I heard a weird noise coming from the van, which caused me to pivot my plans. Okay, remember what I said earlier. I had many things crossing my mind. I was going back and forth on whether or not I should push through or take the L. Initially, I was on a huge high because things were doing just fine at first, but now everything I feared was starting to come true. Even though the van was technically functioning okay, for these types of things, it's better to be safe than sorry. And luckily I did, because it turned out to be a belt issue, which would have been terrible because I was heading into an area that had no signal. So, things that went right. Yeah, Kino. Things that went right. I completed the trip and I made it back alive. And even though the functionality of the actual vehicle was having issues, like driving it and stuff, the living space functioned perfectly. I was able to do everything I needed to do. I could do dishes, I could cook, I could change, I could do work, I could sleep, bathe, and in emergencies, use the bathroom. And considering that the van wasn't even visually completed yet, like all the little details, I think I did a pretty great job with the build, and I have no regrets about the chosen vehicle. Not only was I able to do normal day-to-day activities, my van was able to navigate some mildly complicated terrain. Honestly, despite how scary the situation and how risky it was, I'm so glad that at the end of the day, I completed my goal of completing the trip. All there's left to do now is focus on the aesthetics and organization of the van and making sure everything has a home. Now, the future. After doing the first test trip, it has given me a ton of confidence, experience, knowledge, and opportunity outside the radius of where I'm working from currently. In fact, by the time you see this movie, kind of, yeah. By the time you see this, I'll probably have done a few things already that I'm looking forward to sharing with you. As of now, I think that things are very unpredictable, but for some reason, I feel I am able to maintain my enthusiasm. In just 1 year, there have been many situations where the van has definitely paid for itself. But I'd be lying if I didn't say that when I first started this project, about 3-ish, going on 4 years ago, I thought, like most of us, the future was never what we would have imagined. Traveling is a little nerve-wracking, and the world is not shy about showing its ugly side. So that's the end of the video, and it's 3 years in the making. Thank you to everyone who decided to stay till the end and remained curious. Is a van build something you've always been curious about? Is there something specific you wanted to learn? Let me know down below. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you want more insights on my creative life, feel free to swim through my Patreon or any of my links down below. And thanks again, and always never be afraid to jump your fishbowl. Bye!